Hi guys, welcome to Small Farmer Life. Hope you're all having an awesome day. And today guys, we're going to talk about the legal ways you can go down to get the right to live on your land. Now, before we get into the video guys, it is absolutely, unequivocally not illegal to live on any land in the UK without permission. The only time it does become illegal is if you exhaust all the planning avenues. So you put in a planning application, it gets refused, you go to appeal, that gets refused, and then maybe you take it even higher, that gets refused, and then eventually the planners will take you to court, and then the judge or magistrate probably will issue you an injunction not to live on the land, and then if you break that injunction, then you will be breaking the law. But until that happens, it's perfectly legal to live on any piece of land in the UK. Now, there's easier ways to go about living on a piece of land in the UK, and then there's some grey areas, so to speak, but none of them are illegal, and I'm going to go through that list, so stick with me. Now, if you're thinking about buying some land, you want to start an off-grid lifestyle, maybe you want to start a small holding, maybe you want to buy some woodland, start a forestry business, whatever it might be, think about hitting the subscribe button, go back, check out some of the videos I've already uploaded to the channel. You'll find lots of useful information in those videos, and also think about hitting the bell button for future videos. And if you like the video at the end of the video, think about giving the video a like. It helps the channel. So the first way and the most easiest way to get the right to live on a piece of land anywhere in the UK is every town or council has what they call a development boundary. And if you can find some agricultural land inside the development boundary of a town, so every council has to produce what they call a development plan for the next 5, 10, 15 years, depending on how fast the town is growing. Let's say there's a load of warehouses being built in the local area and they have to produce more housing, then if they haven't already got it, they'll extend that development boundary to encompass more agricultural land or greenfield land. That's what I call it anyway. And our development boundary stops on the railway, so on the other side of the railway, they've built 450 houses, but 20 metres away on my side of the railway, I can't build a house for myself. Yeah, I can build 6 houses for horses, but I can't build one bungalow for myself, which is weird. But if you can find some land inside the development boundary of a town, you will more than likely get planning permission straight away without starting any form of business whatsoever on that land. If you go on your local planning portal, you'll find your local town's development plan for the next 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, whatever it might be. So go on there, check it out. You might get lucky and you might find some land inside the development boundary of your town. As you can see, we're sat in the van. I've got my swivel seats in, I've got all the battering done, I've got the insulation under the floor, I've got all the sound deadening, I've got lots of stuff done in the van, so I've been cracking at it this week. When you come outside the development boundary of a town, you can go for Class Q permitted development on a set of stables or a barn, whatever it might be, but it has to be over 10 years old or built before 2013 and previously used for agricultural purposes, whatever that might be. Could have been used just to store agricultural goods in there, or it could have been used to keep animals in there. Whatever it might be, you can go down that route and get Class Q permitted development rights, or you can go down the route, if you've got a lot of money, of building an house that's so eco-friendly, that's so amazing and costs a fortune to build, because you've got to get an architect to submit all the plans, and it really does cost a lot of money. But the house, like I say, has to be absolutely stunning, grand design type of home. You can get those type of homes built on green belt in areas of outstanding natural beauty and on agricultural land and those sorts of places. So check it out if you've got that type of money and you want to pay an architect to build a really eco-friendly home that's sustainable in every way, shape or form. But that's very rare, because not everybody has the money to build those sorts of houses, and when you do put in planning applications for those sorts of houses, it does have to come up to their standards, what they class as absolutely beautiful and sustainable in every way, shape and form. Or you can do what I'm doing and start some form of rural business. Maybe that might be a small holding, maybe woodland, start a forestry business. And when it comes to businesses, it used to be just around agriculture, but now people are breeding horses, like the guy on the corner, he's breeding miniature horses. There's a guy over the road, he does dog grooming, he got the right to stay on his land. So they are open to other rural businesses, but it has to benefit the rural economy. And if you're employing local people and you're making a profit from your land, then it doesn't have to be £38,000 that somebody was told from a local planner. Now, they're not trying to bring anybody into the country, they just want to earn the average rural worker's wage, which is around about £20,000, which is certainly not £38,000. That's a massive wage for a rural worker. You'd have to be a farm manager, and even those type of guys don't get that amount of money. So just think about that. If any planner actually says you need to make £38,000 to get the right to stay on a piece of land, you just don't have to make that amount of money. £20,000, £18,000 is around about the average wage for a rural worker in this economy, in this day and age right now. Talking about rural businesses. Now, if you're not into agriculture or anything like that, think about going down the tourism route. That is also supported in the National Planning Policy Framework, that local councils in their local planning policy guidelines have to support tourism in the local area. After COVID, a lot of people are taking holidays in the UK. Look at me, I'm converting a van into a camper van so I can drive around the UK, but also Europe and every country and get this thing too. So, guys, think about that when you're thinking about starting any sort of rural business. If you want to go into tourism, go into tourism. Remember, when it comes to tourism and starting a tourism business on agricultural land, then they're going to want loads of surveys done on the land, and them surveys can really mount up. I think my neighbour spent about £10,000 overall in surveys for wildlife and those sorts of things. Now, you can get round those surveys if you're just trying to create a glamping site, let's say on pasture land, then you can just turn over that soil and no survey has to be done for wildlife, because there's nothing really living on that land. There might be a few field mice and all that sort of stuff, but if you cut the grass right down, well, them field mice will go, and the only other animals that'll be on your agricultural land are moles, and they're a pain in the backside. Trust me, Cookie is going mental because I won't let her out the van, because she'll just knock the tripod over and that sort of stuff, and I don't want that. Now, this is where we get into the grey area, so to speak. Here's the 60-day rule, which used to be the 28-day rule. Now, the 60-day rule means that you can stay on your land for 60 days out of the year. Now, you can stay 60 days consistently, or you can split that 60 days up and stay there every weekend, whatever it might be. Like I say, it used to be 28 days, but because of COVID, they've changed it to 60 days. And I know what people are thinking, well, if I split my land up into 6 parcels, if I've got, let's say, 6 acres, then I can stay on each parcel for 60 days, and then that will work out as a year. Well, I've never known anybody to do that, and I don't know if that works or not. If you've got friends and family that you trust putting the land in their name, because that's what you'll have to do, because it can't all be in your name and separated into 6 different parcels. It has to be in different people's name. But you can go down that route if you want to. And how can they really enforce you staying there longer than 60 days unless they stake the place out for 60 days, or you had a really persistent neighbour who took pictures of you every single day and what you were doing and that sort of thing. Like I say, a bit of a grey area, but you can do that. Now, if you've subscribed to the channel for any amount of time, you'll have heard me talk about welfare units. Now, in the UK, no matter what type of work you do, you have to provide health and safety in the workplace for anybody who's working on site, including yourself. And that's where you can get away with putting a static caravan on your land as a welfare unit. Now, this is not changing the use of your land to residential use, it's just keeping the caravan on site. They will allow you in a planning application, if you're putting in, let's say, for a set of stables or a barn, whatever it might be. In my case, I had a chicken business, so I needed a welfare unit for that. My next door neighbour, they have horses, they got a welfare unit to stay on that land. And if you're living in a welfare unit, it's there, the council know it's there, your neighbours know it's there, nobody can do anything about it, and unless they're staking the place out 365 days a year, how can they prove that you're actually living in the place? So if you want to get a welfare unit put on site, then you can go down that route and live in the caravan all year round. But they will question when you start putting in a septic tank or plumbing the place up. But at the end of the day, if you're creating a welfare unit, you need it plumbed up to water, you need it plumbed up to electricity, and you need a septic tank. So when you go to the toilet, because that's what a welfare unit's for, somewhere to get out the rain, somewhere to get clean and dry, somewhere where you can get warm, somewhere you can cook a nice hot meal, somewhere where you might store medications for any animals on site, and you can alarm a caravan, where if you try and alarm a barn or a set of stables, I've found wild cats in my stables, so they would have set off alarms, and birds and that fly around barns and they set off alarms. But in a caravan, you can alarm it and nothing is going to set that alarm off. So it's a good excuse to get a caravan on site as a welfare unit, and what you're using it for is basically health and safety while you're working on the farm, for you and anybody that you're going to employ on the farm. So If you want to go down that route, you can go down that route as well. Now, you've also got the right of lawfulness, which states that if you're building a dwelling out in the open, you're not trying to hide it like Robert Fiddler did, where he built a castle behind a load of bales of hay, and then after about 6-7 years, he took the bales of hay down, and well, the neighbours who were looking out at a load of hay were suddenly looking out at a castle with turrets and all that sort of thing. So don't do it like that. You've got to do it out in the open. It has to be for 10 years. The 4-year and 1-day rule is being scrapped, and you have to use the place all the time for the full 10 years. You can't live there for 2 years, go somewhere else for 4 years, and then come back, live there for another 4 years, and then claim 10 years. It has to be continuously lived in. And if you do build a dwelling on a piece of land, you can't be served an eviction notice on that dwelling. You can be served an eviction notice on a caravan if you're living in a caravan on your own land, but you can't be served an eviction notice if you're living in a dwelling on a piece of agricultural land in the UK. So if you can't get evicted, then you've got a chance of fighting the council to get the right to keep that property or the dwelling on that agricultural land. Now, I would always say it's best to start some form of rural business to get the planners on side. And it's going to be hard to get the planners on side no matter what you do. Everybody who's trying to live an eco lifestyle, a sustainable lifestyle, or anything like that, and they're trying to move onto agricultural land or in a woodland, always faces pushback from locals and local planners. It's just part and parcel of trying to live a better life for yourself. And I could put like a plan in place that if you want to start some form of smallholding or other rural enterprise, then the property that you can build should look like this and be built out of these sorts of materials. But they don't. They just stop you dead in your track. So you have to jump through lots and lots of hoops and have a really thick skin to actually get the right to live on your land, your own land, here in the UK. It's not like other countries like Thailand, where I've travelled to, where if you own a piece of land, you can build your own home, work the land, and nobody's going to say boat to a goose. But in the UK, they're going to come at you, mainly the locals, because the locals have to actually phone up the council and phone the enforcement department. They can't just phone the council anonymously. They have to give the name, the address, and as much proof as possible before the enforcement officer will pay you a visit. So your neighbours, who you think are your neighbours, you'll understand how two-faced neighbours can be. People who might shake your hand, say morning to you every single day, stop and talk to you for half an hour. When you put a planning application in, you'll see them objections and you'll see who's objecting against your planning application. And it could be, and probably will be, the people closest to you and the people who you've been speaking to all the time. You'll be shocked when you see who's actually objecting to your planning application. Now remember guys, that every council in the UK is different. Every planning department in the UK is different. I know they're supposed to follow national planning policy guidelines and local planning policies, but they're all different. That's why we have a discretionary plan system, and it's exactly as it sounds. It's at their discretion whether they let you do something or don't do something. And every council is different in that way. So some councils are really easy going, where some councils will come at you hammer and tongue to get you off that land, and they'll do everything possible. Some councils just don't have the money to serve enforcement notices and carry them through. And even if you serve an enforcement notice, it doesn't mean that the council have to follow through on that enforcement notice. They might just serve it so you don't try and claim the right of lawfulness later on down the line. They're just letting you know that we know you're there, and if you're thinking about changing the use of your land to residential use, well, we're going to stop you dead in your tracks, because we're going to say we served you an enforcement notice back then, even though they didn't enforce it. So like I say guys, remember, each and every planning department around the UK is different, and all planners are different. Just because they've got the title of planner or junior planner or senior planner doesn't mean to say that they know everything about the planning system, because it's changing all the time, and to keep up with every single change, well, you'd have to be really OCD on the planning rules and regulations. Anyway guys, if you like the video, hit the like button. If you want to subscribe, and you should subscribe, hit the subscribe button. If you want to be notified of upcoming videos, hit the bell button. My name's Craig. You've been watching The Small Farmer Life. Thanks again to all my parents. Couldn't thank you guys enough. And YouTube members, really appreciate the support. Till next time, make sure you take care of yourself. Most of all, take care of the family. Be genuine, guys. Bye for now. See you.